guys, and welcome again to The Girl with the Shovel. Today we are talking about African violets and how to get them to rebloom. Okay, so I've had this African violet for probably about 2 years now, year and a half to 2 years now. And let me tell you, at first it was beautiful, it was blooming. You always buy it blooming, right? And then it stopped. And then I had a friend who a couple months later, she's a big fan of African violets. She was like, oh, it hasn't rebloomed yet. And I was like, no, is that a thing? Right? And she was like, yeah, they can bloom like all the time, like almost year round, not quite year round, but you know what I mean, like all the time. And so I was like, oh, cool, I can't wait to see it rebloom. Anyways, about a year later, it still hadn't bloomed. So I did some research and I came up with 4 different things that can cause African violets to not bloom again, to not flower. And so what I did is I fixed one thing, and within weeks, probably like a week or so, I started seeing buds and then they bloomed. So it works. This actually works. So follow these things and you can get yours to rebloom again very quickly. So the first thing to get your African violet to rebloom is light. Increase your light. Okay, now this is actually what was going on with my African violet. My African violet was a couple feet away, probably like 3 or 4 feet away from an east-facing window. So it got some light, but not great light, okay? As soon as I moved it into the windowsill, now it is winter time. So doing it in the winter time, it didn't get too hot because I have had it in brighter light before and it started burning the leaves, okay? So if it's in summer, put it towards like a north-facing window, like right in that window. But if it's in the winter time, kind of cooler temperatures, go east or west facing. Get some of that direct sunlight that's not too hot, okay? And if the other things that I'm gonna mention are good, then it will cause this guy to bloom like super fast. The biggest thing is African violets like at least 12 hours of daylight. Okay, so I know it can sometimes be difficult to get in northern hemispheres in the wintertime, but everywhere else you should be able to get 12 hours of daylight. Just make sure, once again, if it's summertime, put it in a north-facing window, or have like a curtain or something, so it doesn't get that hot temperatures, like those hot direct sunlight, because the leaves are kind of sensitive. They will burn. So you don't want to burn it, but you also want to give it lots of light. Now, the next thing that a lot of people have issues with is fertilizer. Okay. Now, one thing you can see is your African violet producing a lot of leaves? If it is, then it's probably just light that needs to be fixed. If it's not growing a ton, maybe it's bloomed a lot in the past and then all of a sudden it just stops. Just different things like this shows that it isn't a lack of environmental things, it's a lack of the nutrients, because flowering takes a lot of nutrients from the plant. And so if it's flowered a lot, the nutrients will be drained. Or if it just isn't growing very well, it could be a couple of other things I'm going to mention later on too. But if it's not growing very much, or it's flowered a ton and then it just suddenly stopped and hasn't flowered in a long time, it's probably nutrient deficient. So what you want to do is you want to give it a good fertilizer, but they have African violet fertilizers. I would recommend one of those. If you can't find one of those, they have like flowering. I know Miracle Grow says it's a blooming houseplant fertilizer, and that includes a few others, but it's mainly for your African violets. Just make sure that the second number in your 3-number category, I guess. You have 3 numbers in that fertilizer thing, right? The second number, the middle number, that stands for the phosphorus, right? So the nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. The phosphorus number needs to be a little bit higher. You need to have phosphorus in there. So even at least an even number across, or sometimes they double that phosphorus for your African violets. Now, the third thing that your African violet might need is it might need to be repotted. Okay, now this is also an issue with fertilizer because sometimes the soil will run out of nutrients, and just giving it that fresh soil will help it to have the nutrients and help it to have that little boost that it needs to flower again. But it can also sometimes be, if your pot is too big, then your African violet will be maybe holding on to too much water, or it just won't like it as much. So they say that African violets like to be a bit root bound. So I have this in a pot. I meant to pot it in this clay pot, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. So it's actually still in its original pot that I bought it in. Here's a little sticker on it. So it's in the original pot that I bought it in, and it still has been doing okay. So that shows that repotting isn't as important, but you see how small that is compared to the leaves there. So you definitely want to have it tight, okay? So that was one reason why I haven't potted up. It's also been because of time. This should probably be an okay size because the pot is smaller than those leaves there. Okay, if you have a pot that's like as wide as the leaves, then it's too big. Okay, you need to pot it down and really kind of tighten up those roots, right? Get it nice and full of roots. And the thing with that is when you repot it, African violets like soil that's slightly more acidic, as well as very well draining. So they actually have an African violet soil mix that you can buy. It's probably the easiest thing to do is just buy the African violet soil mix, put it in, and you'll have nice, slightly acidic soil that your African violet is going to love. And that alone could help this guy to just spark it into reflowering for you. Okay, and the fourth reason why your African violet might not be flowering could potentially be because of humidity. Now, African violets like higher humidity levels, but I will say this is probably going to be the last item for you to check, okay? First, check your light. That's probably the most important thing that can help or not help your African violet to flower. So first is make sure that it has enough light. Second is fertilizer, okay? So if it isn't light, if it's getting enough light, then increase the fertilizer, as long as it's not wintertime. Don't fertilize in winter. You should know this. If you watch my videos, you know this. Don't fertilize in winter, right? Unless you live somewhere super tropical, in which case you wouldn't have this issue anyways. You would have plenty of humidity. Anyways, light, then fertilizer, then possibly repotting, and then possibly humidity. Okay, so humidity isn't as big of a factor, but it does like to have a little bit more humidity than some of your, I would say, drier climates, right? So about half of the world, right, is in a drier climate or in your AC controlled units, right? It dries out the air a lot more when it's climate controlled with your air conditioner and your heater, especially your heater. Anyways, if you have tried all of the other things, then you can try humidity. It's best if you put it on a little pebble tray. So you get a tray, fill it with rocks, fill it with, some pebbles or gravel or the little stones you find at Dollar Tree. A lot of people just pick up a pack of those, put them in, put your pot on top of the little tray, and then fill that with water, and then the humidity will come up and will get your plant a little more humid. I don't have to worry about that since I moved to Georgia, but in other places I've lived, like California and Idaho and Utah and New Mexico, actually everywhere else I've lived has had low humidity. But like I said, that is the last thing to check. So first is check the light, okay? Because that's probably what is happening. And then second is to check the fertilizer, okay? And if you do all that, if your pot's good, if your soil's good, and it still isn't blooming, then maybe try to raise the humidity levels and see if that will spark it in. So that is it. Those are the 4 things that will help your African violet to rebloom, to have these wonderful, gorgeous flowers on it again, because I know that's what you bought this guy for, is for the blooms, right? Because let's be honest, when it isn't blooming, it doesn't look the greatest, okay? I mean, it's cute, but it's not like when it's blooming. I mean, come on, like, right? Blooms, that's what African violets are for. Anyways, let me know in the comments below what one of these things you think is happening to your African violet, which one it is missing. You can say light, fertilizer, pot, or humidity. I bet most people are going to say light. That's my bet, but we'll see. Let me know below which one your African violet is missing, or which one helps it to bloom again, okay? And then if you have any more questions or comments, you can join the Facebook group, Houseplants for Plant Killers. You can also check out my post on my website that talks all about African violet care and reblooming and all that cool stuff in my blog post. I will leave a link in the description below. And then if you like this video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button so that you don't miss any future videos. Have a good one, guys, and enjoy your beautiful blooms.